Welcome. We are here for The Between by Jason Cordova. This campaign I am subtitling Dancing on Strings. And I'd like to start with introductions. So please give us your name, pronouns, experience with The Between and any other carve from Brindlewood Games, and anything you'd like to see or experience in this particular campaign. So I'm going to go from left to right on my screen here, and let me start with Mark.
Hello, I am Mark, and I am presently playing in a campaign of The Between and The Between Ghosts of El Paso. Uh, and that is actually the extent of my experience with those games, but I've enjoyed them very much, and I am really, really, really looking forward to an exciting new Mastermind.
Hi, I'm Jeremy. Played with Mads in Darkened Mirrors, which you can probably find on the same YouTube channel you're currently watching this. Um, and currently running a campaign of The Between for some friends.
Hi, everybody. My name is Amanda. My pronouns are she, her, and I have a fair amount of experience with The Between. I've played in a few campaigns now, including with Mads on the Shadow Society campaign run by Jason Cordova a little while back. And this, aside from when we played a little bit of Ghost of El Paso, this will be the first time I've played The Between with Mads in like 2 years, something like that. So I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited to test these things out and see all the new stuff, play with some new people. Yeah, I'm just in a really good mood. I'm really happy to be here.
Fantastic. All right. Last but not least, Alex.
Hey everyone, Alex. My pronouns are he, him. I played and run this quite a bit. Never a full campaign, but pretty close. I have run a full campaign of Ghost El Paso. So I'm pretty excited to see, to actually deal with the mastermind conclusively. And yeah, seeing some of the new rules we'll be playtesting is pretty cool too. And just like general weirdness. So we can all bring it.
Will definitely be generally weird and more. And I'm Madelancholy, Mads for short, she, they pronouns. Again, I've been in several between campaigns or run them. And yeah, I've loved this game ever since completing a full campaign with Shadow Society and learning about collaborative narrative role play. And yeah, I mean, there's going to be some interesting things about this particular campaign that you'll be watching. All right. So thank you all. Now I'm going to do CATS. CATS is an acronym that stands for concept, aim, tone, and subject matter. All right, so the purpose of CATS is to establish some basic expectations for what this game is and what we're going to be doing. So the concept of The Between is that it's a tabletop role-playing game about a group of mysterious monster hunters in Victorian-era London. These hunters learn about various monstrous threats in the city and conduct investigations in order to neutralize them. Over time, they become aware of the plans of a criminal mastermind who is pulling the strings behind the scenes. These hunters will eventually be forced to confront this criminal mastermind in order to save Queen and country. The Between is directly inspired by the TV show Penny Dreadful, but also takes inspiration from British horror classics, the works of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, pulp-era media, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and From Hell. The game's mechanics are based on Apocalypse World and Brindlewood Bay. You don't need to know anything about these two games to play. Aim. The aim of the characters in the story are to keep London safe by investigating monstrous threats and learning how to stop them. Our aim as players is to learn more about these characters' mysterious pasts, as well as to paint a vivid picture of our version of Victorian-era London, a responsibility we all share. The aims of this particular campaign are for multiple playtests: a homebrew Mastermind by Sonderupt Games, a homebrew playbook by Jack Hargreaves, and some new Mastermind rules as The Between nears the launch of crowdfunding. I believe that's next month? So, yeah, we're getting pretty close. Tone. The tone of The Between is dark, mysterious, and sensual. A little bit of levity or humor from time to time is okay, but we will always strive to return to that dark, brooding place the characters exist in. Subject matter: murder, cannibalism, body horror, dark sexual themes, erotic sensuality, threats to animals and children, foul language, blasphemy, witchcraft, and defiling graves and corpses are all things that come up frequently in this game. We'll talk about safety tools in a moment, but in the interest of setting expectations right now, you should know that this game deals with dark and intense subject matter. Safety tools. No game is more important than the people playing it. We're going to paint a dark, unsettling portrait of Victorian-era London, but we're going to do it in a way that respects everyone's boundaries of safety and consent. In order to do that, we will be using 3 safety tools in the between: the open door policy, the X card, and lines and veils. Open door policy is very simple. You can leave the game for any reason and don't have to tell us why. You don't have to explain yourself. Just let us know if you will be out just for the scene or out of the game completely. Again, you don't have to say why. The X card, in the context of this game, is for something in the game or the story that you find objectionable in an unfun way. Just say X card or indicate in the Zoom chat and we will stop play in order to change whatever just happened in the game. As the keeper, I may ask for clarification on what is being X carded, but I will never ask why. We'll resume play once the change is made. Finally, lines and veils. Lines are things we are not going to have in the game, period. Veils are things we are okay with being in the game, but prefer not to roleplay them, or simply keep them off screen. There's a third category on the character keeper called Ask First. Maybe you're not sure if it's a line or a veil, but may want to cross into that territory. Just check in first. Importantly, even though I listed a number of dark subject matter that come up in the between, you can still include one or more of these things as part of lines and veils. Again, no game is more important than the people that play it. We have an online character keeper that has a safety tab, and our players have marked it accordingly. If anything changes, please give me a heads up in play. It is a living document, and if something comes up that is triggering, then again, we will just say X card or, pause, rewind, whatever, and use whatever language it takes for us to pause the game and then be able to go over what needs to be removed or changed. Okay? Before we introduce our characters, I want to share a few more details about the setting. The characters, the hunters, are the current residents of a place called Hargrave House. Hargrave House is a mansion on Belgrave Square in London. The people who live there share the common goal of defending the city from whatever dark forces are lurking in its shadows, be it monster or murderer. They operate outside official channels, frequently tackling cases Scotland Yard won't or can't touch. Importantly, Hargrave House existed long before the characters took up residence there, and previous residents were doing the same work. By the time we join these characters, they have already been living and working together for a time. We don't dwell on how they came to live at Hargrave House, nor do we care about who owns or funds the place. Yet. We may learn more about these things in the future, but for now, Hargrave House just is. Another thing to know is that these characters are to remain mysterious. We should avoid talking about their pasts, both in and out of character, unless we are prompted to do so by the game's rules. The reason we do that is because we want to learn about these characters as we play. It's a little like watching a good TV show. We don't learn everything about the characters all at once. The information is given in pieces, at dramatically impactful moments in the story, often through flashbacks. So, there's some character creation that were tackled before we started, but we're going to pause the recording just to finish up, and then we will introduce them when we come back. Okay, so we're going to introduce the characters a little bit now. All right, so in the order of appearance on our character keeper, please state just your name, your look, and your vice, reminding you to avoid sharing backstory at this time. Okay, so please start with our mother.
Sure. I would be playing Dr. Elinor Weiss. Her pronouns are she, her. She has sunken eyes, queen and unadorned hands, and a simple tartan dress. I also think it's not on the sheet, but like a very simple Star of David necklace she wears sometimes. Her vice is cleansing tonics because she's very concerned with cleanliness.
Okay, cool. All right, and our undeniable.
Yes. The undeniable is Kemuel Robel. And Kemuel's pronouns are they, them. They have flawless skin, blue-gray eyes, a meticulous coiffure, and their vice is comforting the dying.
Okay. And our vessel, please.
Damian Gray is a slick man in a tailored men's suit in burgundy and black. He wears an upside-down Christian cross necklace, and underneath that suit he is covered in silver threads that dance across his skin. His pronouns are he, him.
Nice. All right. And our facsimile, the new homebrew playbook that we are playtesting.
I will be playing Marybelle. Pronouns they, them, or she, her. They haven't really decided. They have a porcelain face with red brushed cheeks and big blue eyes with long eyelashes. The eyes are kind of unblinking. They have ball jointed articulation points in their arms, their legs, their hips, so that they can move around with some sort of ease. They have ringlets of ultra fine copper filament that just spin around. They shine in the light. They smell a little bit like pennies. Yeah. Their vice is cleaning and tuning up their parts.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to go back around, and I'm going to read the little description at the top of each playbook.
Oh,
Everyone...
sorry. Did Daymond say his vice? I might have missed it.
Apologies. Damian's vice is Sunday morning mass.
Okay. Thank you. So, again, going to go in order again. Read the little description at the top of the playbook. Everyone, please pay attention, as each of us, including myself, will say one item the character would find in their personal quarters. An equipment list that may or may not be portable. And the character has veto or revision power over each item. Okay? So, we'll do it one at a time after I read the blurb. The mother. Few understand the mysteries of human anatomy like you do. You are one of the most brilliant medical minds in London, and could take your place as a lecturer at any number of esteemed academies. But you have different ideas, different plans. You are no longer interested in merely preserving life, but creating it. And so you'll do what you must to survive, tending to the prostitutes dying of consumption, assisting Scotland Yard with grisly forensic inquiry, and creeping about in the dark with these new people, these hunters with whom you share a home. But always you are focused on the new life growing in your secret womb, your child, the one you hope will capture even the faintest reflection of the person you loved and lost. So knowing this, what do we think is in Dr. Weiss's personal quarters? Do I give you the usual from keeper to mother, or do I give you something practical? What would you like?
I'll let you pick. The usual is kind of intriguing.
You know what? I'll give you something practical.
Okay.
You have a thick tome of an anatomy book, something like Gray's Anatomy or Gray's Anatomy, with your own specific notes scribbled in the corners.
In a jar with formaldehyde in it, you have a severed human head.
You still have your first scalpel. It's dull and blunted, but it's yours.
I think Dr. Weiss also has a letter a letter that is addressed as being from someone she deeply cared about, but it is unopened.
I'm so excited. Oh my god.
Unopened.
Woo! Okay. The undeniable. You have always been the most beautiful person in the room. Your looks have opened doors for you for as long as you can remember. All the money and material things anyone could want laid at your feet. Artists have found inspiration in the brightness of your eyes, the delicate curve of your cheekbones, the plump softness of your lips. One such artistic work, a masterwork, rises above them all, for it captures the essence of you. It is, quite simply, more you than you. Lately, people sacrifice everything to be near you, to please you, and if they're lucky, to touch you. But what to do when you get bored with being one of the gods? What do we think is in Kemuel's personal quarters?
Kemuel has the right hand of the person that made the masterwork, so that they can craft nothing else.
There's a religious iconography, like either a duotich or a triptych or something, but the iconography is all of different profiles of Kemuel.
I think Kemuel has an exquisite stopwatch, like a gold stopwatch, but the time is not set to the current time.
You have a very ornate walking stick that doubles as a weapon.
Alrighty. Now, the vessel. For as long as you can remember, dark entities have been near. They lurk just inside your peripheral vision, just at the mirror's edge. When you close your eyes, you can actually feel them. Their cold breath, their oily touch, an occasional feverish embrace. They want to be inside you. They want to rub against your guts and deposit their power. Others are drawn to you as well, those who would use you to master these dark things in order to serve their own agenda. Some of these interlopers, these usurpers, can be of use, such as the hunters with whom you share a home. Others, like the coven, are best avoided. In either case, you are no one's object, tool, or weapon. You are no mere bystander. Your fate is yours to shape. With that, what do we think is in Daymond Gray's personal quarters?
I think with a vice like Sunday morning mass, you have your own personal sort of miniature kneeling praying bench, like a small pew almost.
I think you have a scourge, a small whip that is used for flagellation.
You have a unique candle set. It is a silver snuffer as well as a delicate pair of wick cutters. Silver etched with symbols that seem to move in a certain light.
I think Daymond has a family Bible that you've inherited. And on the inside front cover is a family tree going back many generations. For some reason, your name has been scratched out.
And finally, the facsimile. You are an automaton, a mechanical doll made to satisfy the curious whims of your creator. Like most dolls, you were born from bits of wood and brass, Hewn, screwed, dressed and painted to resemble something pleasant and unassuming, a beautiful bastardization of humanity. You were content because you did not know any better. That was until you were bestowed the spark of life, a gift that let you operate in ways beyond the designs of your maker. The spinning of your gears were now lubricated by something new and intangible, curiosity. Stories of the world your creator read to you were now things that could be experienced. Despite their protestations, you followed this newfound inquisitiveness, determined to make pseudo-life into your own wooden hands. Eventually, the strings of curiosity led you to London. For now, you've settled at Hargrave House, living with other peculiars who seem to dance on similar strings as you, despite knowing the world a great deal better. The world beyond the workshop is a hard one, though, full of folks eager to play with you in rougher ways. Nevertheless, you will not be made a puppet for anyone's desires but your own. And with that, what do we think is in Marybelle's personal quarters?
Oh, let's go full Pinocchio. You have a book of lessons, and I'll leave that ambiguous because I trust you to run with that, Amanda.
I think Marybelle has a can of lubricating oil that's long since been emptied, but still plays some part in some daily ritual.
You have a belt of bibs and bobs. You have... It's full of pockets. Could be an apron or a utility belt. However you think it looks.
You have a playbill from the performance of a play. But looking at it closely, it's stained and kind of waterlogged. It looks like maybe it was picked up off of the streets of London.
Okay. So, before we begin, or actually take our first short break, please know that although this is a game set in a historical time period, we aren't going to dwell on historical accuracy. We'll do our best to represent the technology and culture of the era, but we're going to get some things wrong every now and again, and that's okay. I also want to point out that during this time period, people with marginalized identities would likely have been treated very poorly in society. So we're going to ignore that part of history. In the world in between, things like race, nationality, gender, ethnicity, sexuality, disability, and neurodivergence are not social barriers. So, Hargrave House is an old Gothic revival style building. It stands out from its neighbors on Belgrave Square, which are done in the more conventional, classical style. Hargrave House is also different because it's not just a residence, but a place of work. Dark work. And some more of that dark work has just landed on the doorstep. In the form of the morning paper. But before we unfold the paper and see what it holds, perhaps the camera will enter into Hargrave House and see what it's going to see. What are your characters up to this morning?
I think
No.
before the camera actually gets into the door of Hargrave House, I think it follows us, or it follows Damien down Belgrave Square itself as he's returning from a very early morning. He's got the family Bible tucked under the arms as he walks down the road, taking in the morning sun, the birds chirping, this bright, beautiful day. And as the camera pans down, we see at his footsteps his shadow. His shadow follows just a little bit too close in comparison to all of the other shadows. And as we see Damien climb the steps into Hargrave House, his shadow almost disappears, but it's still there, excited to get into the front door.
The camera pans away from the shadow, and up the stairs. And you can hear in the background a horrible screeching noise, like nails on a chalkboard, and it's echoing throughout the halls of Hargrave House. The camera goes into a room, and you see Marybelle sitting at a vanity, very properly sitting up, as if she was placed there, and she is awkwardly running a boar bristle brush, a beautiful boar bristle brush, through the copper coils in her hair, and the sound of the coils as they scrape against the handle of the metal brush is making this horrendous squeaking sound as she pulls it through, and the curls just bounce right back into position. She looks at herself in the mirror and tilts her head slightly, as she's seen other people do, and nods at herself as she's seen other people do, puts the brush down on a very meticulously organized counter, and stands up.
Somewhere nearby, the camera pans to a room on the same level of the house. But when it goes into the room, it continues going through the wall. And as it passes through, we see a small chamber meticulously scrubbed and bordered with vials and Olympics. And there is a woman in a very simple garment, and she's huddled over, staring at a jar of formaldehyde with something bubbling inside of it. And she runs her finger across where she thinks its forehead must be and writes the Hebrew word for truth. And she says, soon, soon you shall be with me. Soon everyone shall see that I was right. And what a beautiful thing it will be to see your potential brought into the world. She's interrupted from talking to this severed head by the sounds of the screeching next door, and she realizes that her fellow hunters must be up. So she gives one caress of the child's face within the jar, and she turns and pulls down a brass lever near the wall, and it opens up, and she steps outside, and it closes again.
And in a room adjacent, we see Kemuel kneeling. He's wearing a long white silken dressing gown with a gold Greek key patterns around the seams and cuffs. And he's kneeling on the whole floor of his room is covered with a tatami. And apart from that, the room is very plain, but all of the walls are set with wardrobes, just one after another. And he's kneeling in quiet contemplation. And just as that Hebrew letter is scribed in the adjacent room, he looks up, almost as if he's listening. And then he too hears the screeching and rises to leave.
You hear the slap of the still damp paper against Hargrave House's door. Who goes to get it?
Most appropriate if Daymond just brings it in with him.
And actually, that might be very, very fortuitous, because
Oh no.
when you open it up and start to peruse the articles, one of the articles that jumps out at you, of course, because they have the titles, the headlines, essentially, just lurid in its dampness. I mean, like still running ink, like fresh Fresh off the press. Bodies have turned up in the Lea River near Three Mills Island. The first, according to news reports, was a man perfectly purple in color. Next, a boat bumped into the sanguine sister of Joshua Cross. Her body was red like blood from the tip of her nose to the soles of her feet. This morning, 2 green boys were recovered, rigor mortis locking their hands together. The penny papers have come up with a fanciful and inaccurate nickname for the phenomenon: the monochromatic men of Three Mills Island. Hargrave House has a copy of the Almanac of the Hyades. The discovery of these monochromatic people is connected closely to a cosmic event that, according to the Almanac of the Hyades, is taking place soon. So, Daymond, you are the one with the highest sensitivity. You've heard stories in recent days that make more sense in light of all of this. What have you heard that makes you think a portal to another world is opening up over Three Mills Island?
It's not so much heard. Heard is the wrong sense. It's seen. There is a portal above Three Mills Island. It's the color of the sky, but it's bluer than that. It's the bluest blue that you've ever seen, in this swirling vortex that just kind of hugs over the island.
It's moving slowly right now, but you know from your research that it will speed up quite soon, especially as the ritual will complete. I believe that you would have an idea that the ritual does require several nights of specific killings in specific ways to open a portal to another world. The victims on each night are different combinations of people who are organically monochromatic. Whoever is replicating this ritual is attempting to do so with people who have been dyed the required colors. It's working so far, and the portal is nearly open. Okay, so your questions and opportunities. Complexity 6. Who wants to open a portal and why? Resolve the threat by convincing them the risks outweigh the costs or by destroying them. Or Complexity 8. How does the ritual work? Resolve the threat by controlling or stopping the next key component or procedure of the ritual, ruining any further attempt at it until the stars align 1,000 years from now. So, okay. And I will say that you have 4 night phases to resolve this threat. Otherwise, something will come through. So with the between, it's like we have questions and opportunities, and the complexity is determined by the amount of clues that the hunters will need to gather to be able to match the complexity in order to roll for answering the particular question that they want to answer. In this case, it's your choice. You would decide whether you want to deal with the complexity 6 or the complexity 8. Okay? And then you'll be putting together clues, gathering clues, and if you can gather more than the complexity's base, then you'll be able to roll with some bonuses. Okay? So do your best. And yeah, I imagine that once you read through this, Daymond, however you think you're going to share this with your compatriots.
A simple retelling of the news article, briefly summarizing all the main points without getting into too much of the sensationalist nature that the article tends to get into.
Especially because it's inaccurate, in a sense. So, yes. So things that you can look into. You know that you have Hargrave House, I should say. Hargrave House has a copy of the Almanac of the Hyades. If you would like to look into this ritual further, try to see if you can gather more information about it. There are mills, actual working mills on Three Mills Island. If there's anything to be found, it would be there. And the bodies have been brought to the Stratford mortuary. So that could be something that you look into if you'd like to take a look at the bodies. Okay? So, where would you like to go?
I beg the intrusion, Mr. Gray, but is it common for astral phenomena to affect people in this way? Seems that the stars are too far away to have much an effect.
One would think, but can the whims of Her Majesty not impact the people who work for the East India Company? Can the stories of the past, the Bible, Dr. Weiss's copy of the Torah, not influence us from years past? Time and distance are not as vast as they seem. Does that answer your question, Marybelle?
No, not really. But it has given me much to think about. Are all people so beholden to their past in such a way? Or the past of other people?
Yes. The
Would it not be
past,
better to look to the future?
it would, but it is not possible to always look to the future.
The past and the future exist with us in a continuum. There is so much we do not understand with science, with spirituality, that the material and immaterial are often one and the same, opposite sides of the same coin. The light from this portal may be from another world, as this ridiculous rag says, or it may simply be a phenomenon that we do not understand, a fragment of the Godhead which has been separated, which exists in all of us, which even you, and the immaterial. Who knows how it could affect any one of us?
Elinor, please. Marybelle is not the immaterial. They have a spark of them, a spark in them that is more.
Oh, I could not agree more.
I'm
Just because
quite
something is,
material.
yes, but just because you are not flesh and blood does not mean that you do not have that same spark inside of you. I do agree with Daymond. Were we not all made of clay at one point or another?
Truly?
Hmm.
You were made of clay. Previous to having the type of skin that you have at the moment.
This is one explanation, and I'm sure that there is some debate.
However, did you manage to become more like you are now?
How did you become how you are now, Marybelle?
Well,
That is what we're all trying to find out.
the same experience happened to you.
Perhaps.
Well,
This one thinks the three of you were sculpted by the hands of your creator. And this one has found that past and future are much the same, an unending stream in both directions. And bizarre happenings like this that has just been brought to our attention break the monotony on occasion.
So you were not made of clay once.
This one was not.
Regardless, there as much as that we do not understand, as I have said. And the key to understanding is knowledge. So I do not know what the rest of you wish to do, but I wish to cross-reference this almanac, as there may be much hidden knowledge within about whatever phenomenon this is. And I will join with the rest of you later when I have got an additional insight.
I suppose I can't just go ripping out pages from the book and see if that does anything. If any of you would care to join me, I will summon a carriage to Three Mills Island to get under this itself.
I would quite enjoy that, Mr. Gray. I have many questions about when you were clay.
Absolutely.
This one will inspect the corpses.
I suggest that you wear gloves from long experience.
And I suggest that you don't.
Indeed.
So, out of character, we have three three hunters going over to Three Mills Island and Dr. Weiss going to the library, yeah?
Mhm.
To look into the Hyades. Okay. All right, cool. Let me go to the Hargrave House Library first, and then we will cut over to you three in the carriage, making it to Three Mills, okay? So, since we haven't done rooms at Hargrave House yet, we don't have anything, to base it on, so you can say whatever the heck you want for this paint the scene. The Almanac of the Hyades is always on a particular table and always open to the current date. This is for everyone. What is horrid about the book? What makes it so hard to look away? Always on a particular table and always open to the current date.
There's something about the ink that the book is printed in where it always looks like it was just freshly printed. The ink has a sheen to it. Like if you were to slide your thumb over the paper, it would smear. But Marybelle's never attempted that because that looks like it would get her in trouble.
I think what is horrid about it is also what makes it hard to look away. There's something about the script, or perhaps the ink. It pulls the viewer in, and at the same time, burns the eyes. So it feels unpleasant to look on, but hard to turn away from.
In the margins of the book, on every page for that date, is listed the names of those who will die that day. And it's difficult to look away out of morbid curiosity in case your own name is listed.
Take this a different route. What makes it hard to look away from the book isn't the contents of the book, it's the table that it's sitting on. No matter how we've tried to rearrange the library to make it more accommodating, easier to find things, the table always has to be the first thing when you enter the library. If the table ever gets moved, whenever everyone else leaves the library, there'll be a screeching sound as the table moves itself back to be the first thing you see when you enter.
And these are the things that you see when you enter into the library. It immediately draws you in. The ink, the script, the table that almost seems to have just moved as you entered into the library, just to be right there so you can take a look at the book. So, do the first roll of the game. So, information move.
Dr. Weiss, is kind of a tiny person. So she's carrying this equally massive tome under her arms. It takes her some effort to make her way across the room and brush off space next to the almanac on the table and plop her own book, which is the anatomy book with specific notes scribbled in the corners. And an onlooker would think that she was cross-referencing about the bodies and some condition that they're in, but she's actually looking for specific numbers that match from the almanac and her tome, because she's very into the idea of gematria, which is a Kabbalistic practice of analyzing Hebrew words as numbers. And she thinks like numbers have power and significance. So that's what she's cross-referencing. So I'm going to mark that off for advantage.
Okay. So, yes, personal quarters items can be used for advantage. If you want to roll with 3d6, take the two highest, but if you have any conditions, then you could use it to cancel out any disadvantage that the conditions would cause. All right? So
I'm assuming
case,
this is
advantage.
reason, or is it sensitivity?
It's a creepy ass book. I mean, but if you're just looking at it like, you are just thinking of it practically, I'm not gonna hold the.
I don't know. I did mention I'm doing numerology though. So
okay.
I don't know. It's up to you how practical that is in this universe.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, like, you have to be of a certain belief, regardless of scientific thoughts and premises, to be able to work at Hargrave House. So I'm gonna let you do it with reason.
I got an 11.
Okie doke. All right. Let me head over to the other two. I'll resolve the clue when I get back. Okay. So you three, you've taken the carriage, and you make it to 3 Mills Island. You see that it's not a shanty town. What am I trying to say? It's like, it's quite run down. There are establishments here, like a pub, like living quarters and such, but like, it's just expected that, anybody that's here doing the factory work in the mills is not going to be in the best conditions because of like what they have to work with. And the mortuary is beyond the mills, like further into town. Okay. So Stratford mortuary, again, like, you'd have to go along further, and then the mills themselves are right there. They're each freshly painted, a different solid color. There's a heady smell of something processed coming from the mills and the water. Okay, so there is a paint the scene to this one as well. Post this in the chat. Okay. The mills on 3 Mills Island are constantly changing ownership. New owners frequently change the function of the mills. What do the smells and noises make you suspect at least one of the mills is doing right now?
Based on the the smell of manure and the sheep pastures out back, at least one of them is a textile mill that is turning cotton into thread, or not cotton, sheep wool into thread. Cotton is a plant. For weaving and whatnot on looms. It smells pretty farmy.
What color is that particular mill that you smell the farmy smell from?
It is a very vivid lemon yellow color.
Okay.
Based on the loud clanging that can occasionally be heard. One of the mills seems to be processing some kind of metal, and it rings out every so often as a hammer drops. That particular mill was once a deep blue, but is now soot-covered.
I think there's the sounds of shouting near one of the mills. First, with the workers shouting slogans of the Chartist movement and organization. And then there's the sounds of whistles and get back to work. So I think there's some labor unrest going on and a strike being broken up.
Based on the strong sort of pulpy smell of it smells almost woody or like paper, uh, and we can hear the sort of thumping sounds of what seems to be maybe a printing press. This is some sort of operation for making paper goods, printed goods.
Okay. What color is that mill?
Light gray.
And the sounds of unrest, was that heard near one of the existing mills, or was that its own place set aside?
I think it's near one of the existing mills, but by the time the hunters arrive, it was unclear which one.
Okay.
Like it got broken up first.
Got it. Okay. So, Kemuel, you are continuing along in the carriage to get to the Stratford mortuary, and then Marybelle and Mr. Gray, you are here at the mills. The lemon yellow, the sooty deep blue, and the light gray in front of you, like grim, dark edifices with all the smells and sounds coming from them. What do you do here?
Mr. Gray,
Yes.
is it more appropriate at this moment that we split up in order to cover more options? Or is it more appropriate for me to stay by your side, seeing as you are slightly more... Would it be impolite for me to say squishy?
It would not. My old age certainly has not kept me in the healthiest of vitalities. I would love
Is
the
that...
company.
And that's common amongst people as well, becoming weaker in your old age.
Yes, both physically and for normal people, mentally.
I'm learning quite a lot from you today, Mr. Gray. You explaining to me what a metaphor is in the carriage ride over, and now this new information about old age. Does it happen drastically or gradually?
In the grand scheme of things, it happens gradually. To the individual observer, it is the flipping of a switch.
Another metaphor.
Yes.
Very good. I think we're just chatting as we're walking
Mhm.
towards one of the mills. I think Marybelle is just letting Mr. Gray lead the way.
In that case, Mr. Gray would try and lead to the point immediately underneath the swirling portal in the sky.
And what would you do here?
Look straight up and attempt a rite of salt and smoke
Okay.
with the goal of observing whatever's on the other side of this portal. So observe another time or place.
Okay. Go for it. So let's see. Looking at that, that's a playbook move.
Yes, would you like me to read that more or
Please.
less verbatim?
Yeah.
The
please.
rites of salt and smoke. The vessel is skilled in contacting dark entities in order to perform magic rituals. Daymond uses the threads that cover his body, pulling them out, causing physical agony. When he gives this offering to the dark entities, he rolls with sensitivity. On a 10+, the magic works without further cost. On a 7 to 9, the magic works imperfectly, where I choose an effect and a complication. Should I manage a 12+, some more interesting things happen with some masks of the future.
2d6 plus sensitivity.
That is going to be 2d6 plus 1 for an 8.
Okay. Complication. Okay. I know what I'm going to do for the complication, I believe. But for your 7 to 9, what is your effect?
Do I not get to pick both? Unless I'm misreading this
yes,
wrong.
yeah, no, you are, but yeah.
Was there one that you had in mind?
Magic draws immediate and unwanted attention.
That was the same one I was going to pick.
Okay.
But no, I would like the effect to observe another time or place on the other side of that portal.
Okay. So another time or place. Tell me what it looks like as you pull your silver threads.
I hope you aren't squeamish, Marybelle. And Daymond would unbutton his necktie and undo the topmost button on his shirt before reaching a hand down his own collar and pulling at something. A silver thread reveals itself, and a look of both pain and ecstasy crosses his face as his eyes go silver, staring straight up into the sky, his mouth moving in unperceivable language.
It's almost like the threads are drawing a path in your mind's eye as your eyes turn silver. Marybelle can't see it, she just sees your ecstasy, but I think through your silver eyes you trace a path. It is dark, it is misty, it is glimmering in starlight. And as you enter the portal in your own mind, I think you will almost move nebulae out of the way, move star clouds, starbursts, and you will see a pattern of stars that look not of this world, not constellations, but they look like eyes, and those eyes turn to look back at you. And you see underneath those eyes something that looks like gleaming, dripping fangs. And as you see this and the entity approaches, I think you hear, "Oi! Hey! You look official! How about giving a word?" Marybelle, you see a a suited gentleman, quick talking, ink-stained fingers. He has a notepad in hand and he's scribbling away, and he's kind of like waving the pen at both of you as he sidles up.
I look over at Mr. Gray, and he's doing his thing. And I look back at this person and say, "Hello, yes. My name is Marybelle. How may I help you?"
Come on, it's for a new paper. You can be in the first issue. What an honor, right? What paper? We're still figuring it out. We are going to be the competition to the Illustrated Police News. You got some information, yeah? I mean, like, he seems to be a little bit out of it, but can you tell us about this thing that's whirling up ahead?
Dr. Weiss says the Illustrated Police News is a nasty rag that wouldn't be fit to wipe your bottom with.
Oh no, we are
Is
not
that similar?
No, we are going to elevate our news to be above the Illustrated Police. So, have no fear. Anything that you say will be given some instant clout. I am Randall Newcastle, aspiring journalist.
It's very pleasant to meet you.
You too. So you got a word about this? Looks weird, yeah?
What sort of word are you looking for?
Word on the street? I mean, like all the deaths? There's bodies over at the mortuary. And this? Is this connected?
We believe this might be connected, yes.
Okay. And he's scribbling down. So,
I'm not sure what word is on the street. The streets are just dirt here, you see. Unfortunately, I'm not able to read them.
You don't need to be so danged literal. No, we just want to know, it's like if you've heard about who might the next bodies be, or what true connection this might have.
I'm not certain if there is a pattern. Have you noticed a pattern?
The people get killed, and they're all different colours, eh? I mean, what colour's next?
Perhaps red?
Writes it down. So I give you an opportunity to do something with this guy, or
I think. Gosh. So, at the beginning of the day phase, one of my moves is called doll parts, where instead of ability scores, all my ability scores are at 0. And instead, each day I put on doll parts. One of the doll parts I have on this day phase are my spectrographic optic sensors, which are designed by my creator using experimental technologies. These sapphire lenses provide insight into which most others cannot see. I would like to look at Mr. Newcastle and see if there's anything of note. And I think in this case of note, I mean something that Marybelle would find strange compared to her observations of other people.
Does it say
This is just this doll part operates with sensitivity, so it gives me a +1 on a sensitivity roll.
Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, I mean, I would imagine this is information with sensitivity.
And I can't really think of a good way to use my items, so I'm just going to leave it for now. I think just a straight up roll.
Okay.
Sensitivity. Oh, I'm starting things off real good with a 4.
Oh!
I know that Jeremy and Mark, you haven't played with me before, but I am infamously bad at rolling.
It's great. It's so good. Oh my God.
Just means we get to see your mask sooner. So, well, or maybe not. Maybe not.
Maybe not. So you can accept, like, you know, just for mechanics' sake. I mean, like, you know, you can accept the 4, see how badly you fail, or what kind of reaction I'm going to have, or you can use a mask. Masks, in this case, in this game, are windows into the character's past that they can use to increase the tier of their roll. So from a miss, like, you turn it into a 7 to 9 for a mixed success. So you can choose to do that. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention, this mystery, this threat, has a mask associated with it, a threat mask called the Mask of Dim Carcosa. I'll put that into the threat later. Okay, so if you choose to pull on that, everybody's going to do the mask. Okay. But if you pull from your mask of the past or mask of the future, that is just you. Okay? So
I think this is so tempting. I've never been the person who marked one mask in particular in any game of the Between ever that I've played, so I'm really tempted to do it. But it seems like, you know what? No, go big or go home. I'm gonna mark the gilded door.
Most beloved.
So for everybody else, I'm going to take the condition most beloved, which is hilarious because I already have a condition that I started with, so now I have two. And then I get to keep that forever, basically. Unfortunately, that means you cannot choose the gilded door. It does not count as being marked for you. You just can't take it. And yeah, I'm gonna be the most beloved.
It feels very appropriate for our mastermind.
It really does. Oh my god.
I'm
Sorry, so
finally the
excited.
most beloved, and not
So excited.
fake way, like I'm in like on your Discord server where I gave myself that title.
I'm okay. I'm okay with it. It's okay. Although mothers do it better. Sorry. Anyway. Okay. So that is a 7 to 9. All right. So I will give you a clue when I go back around to resolve everybody. Let's go to follow Kemuel, excuse me, into the mortuary. Okay. So, the basic point about the Stratford mortuary, it is just pretty much a solid stone building. Cold, clean, dry. Yay. And the paint scene on this is for everybody. What about this place makes you think experiments are happening after hours? It's for everyone.
Although there's nothing like this in the building that you can see, from your viewpoint. Catching a glimpse into a closet, you see stacks of what looks like maybe bodies, maybe dead sheep. Not really sure. They're all wrapped up pretty tightly. But it's definitely nothing happening like that right now on the floor in daylight hours.
I'm gonna bounce off of that actually, because I took the resurrectionist move, which Elinor has some of her former medical students who were expelled from the university for some after hours grave digging. And I think we see some of those people leaving the factory whistling. One of them has like a coin purse that's heavier than it was when he walked in.
To continue bouncing, everyone that comes into the mortuary has to sign in a logbook. And we can see the name Harley White appear coming in at like midnight, 1 in the morning, several nights in a row. So the logbook's got strange hours listed on it.
And if you were to look at, perhaps there's a back door or a side door, you'd see it looks like a well-worn patch, as if somebody stands here waiting for their colleagues. Maybe there's the detritus from old cigarette butts or pipe tobacco that's been knocked out onto the ground. It looks like somebody spends a lot of time just sort of hanging around here. Maybe there are even wagon wheels sort of leading away, ruts in the ground.
You catch glimpses of these things, Kemuel, as you go through the mortuary. It is very cold and, at this point, silent.
And I would note that Kemuel is still wearing that white silken dressing gown with the gold accents. It's open almost to his navel with a gold cord wrapped around the waist, and he's barefoot. Despite the cold, though, he doesn't seem to be shivering. And he just marches in and opens the nearest door.
I think, at this point, I think you surprise someone behind the door. There's somebody that you catch a glimpse of, like saggy jowls, pressed clothes, a pale powdered complexion, and this person is like wiping up their hands at the moment, as they kind of, uh, look over a body. But I mean, like, it looks like they've been meticulously cleaning around it, you know, as they're, um, uh, I guess, checking it out. You can't tell if they've done anything with it, or like, performed any autopsies or anything. But yeah, this person is just being very clean around this thing. Oh, hello. You seem to be very lost. And he's like slowly looking you up and down, catching your outfit. Can I help you? You
Yes, your help would be much appreciated. This one is here to inspect these brightly colored corpses.
Yeah, they are indeed colorful. Absolutely. Don't mind me. I am trying to keep them as clean as possible. People don't seem to mind letting the body of a loved one rot in their home before putting in the ground, but this is better. Look, this is safer, cleaner. No miasma to be concerned about with here.
We are in agreement on this. It is important to treat this flesh with respect.
And the way to do that is through ultimate cleanliness. This body will go in as pristine as it, well, possibly went out. So.
You take great care with your work. Have you a name?
I'm Jeffrey McKinney. I've been, I've been hired. I've been recruited by Miss Hattie to work here. This is a fairly new place, and I'm proud to be helpful in this new post. Yes.
You can be very helpful indeed by outlining the condition of these remains.
Okay. So I would say if you're trying to get information out of him, like, you'd need to roll with presence. That should not be a problem for
All
you.
right. Let's see here. 9. That is a 9.
Cool. All right. Okay. Mixed success. I'm going. Like, we're past the hour, so I'm gonna say let's take a 10-minute break, and then when we come back, I will resolve everybody's rolls. Okay. So 10 minutes. See you then. Okay. So back with Dr. Weiss. You're making comparisons to the book, to the Almanac of Hyades, and I think this book is so. If you had more of an emotional response, I think, the word that would come to mind is creepy, because it shifts a lot. As you move through these pages and try to find patterns with your gematria, I think it's almost as if the almanac is resisting you. But you do discover that in a different date, you find it's almost like an insert. It's a modern manuscript of procedures that lists colors as components to be combined to create bizarre medical effects. That is your clue. A modern manuscript of procedures that lists colors as components to be combined to create bizarre medical effects.
Yeah, and I think we see Dr. Weiss back in the laboratory, and she's explaining everything that she learned from this book to this floating head in formaldehyde.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yes, wouldn't it be fascinating if one could replicate such a procedure? And that this is what I intend to do with you. You see, your body will be like the tree of life, the points of the Sephiroth. And this is the first step, but not the last, my love. And soon you will be whole. And I will have a conversation with my student very soon. But now that we have time alone, and she reaches in with her ungloved hands and pulls the head out of the formaldehyde, places it on the table, and gets to work.
Using the
So
procedures.
yes, like her she doesn't have the actual book, but she's like theorizing about what she read. Like, I can preserve this in a way that, it'll still work for my needs.
Okay. Did you want to do that particular move right now that you were suggesting, or you want to wait?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll go ahead.
Okay, so this is a day move, What do you think will go wrong if you fail or lose your nerve?
I will waste, I'll do it wrong and waste the head. I'll have to get a new one.
Okay. All right. Fair. So, this one is with, do you feel that this is intuitive, or do you feel that because you're following this procedure protocol that you found, that it's more reason? Because if it's intuitive, I would definitely say sensitivity. This is you're pulling it out of your butt, literally. So I mean,
Yeah, I was trying to see if I could argue composure with a steady hand and intense concentration, but I think that might be a little too much of a stretch. So
yeah.
I would say maybe reason because she's trying to do it methodically.
Okay.
And work out in her head this theory that she's never seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right, so let me go ahead
Risky.
and roll that.
Yep. Risky as heck.
6, 2, 1. Up. I got a 6.
So what? You got a 6.
Yep.
Okay.
With advantage, I got a 6. Yeah.
Oh my god. All right. Okay. So you have a choice. You totally lose the head, and I'll put a condition on you because this is devastating. Or you can use mask to increase the tier of your roll to at least make it a mixed success.
I'm going to increase the tier.
Okay. Which
With my mask of the past.
Sure. Okay.
As she puts the head on the table and she is using all of these various chemicals to preserve it, she whispers into its ear, "Welcome to the world, Jacob." And I think we cut away for just a moment, and it is in a Jewish cemetery in London, and the camera focuses on a gravestone, and it says Rabbi Jacob Weiss on a series of dates that are faded by now.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. So, back at the mills. And before I go with this, your condition is thoughtful sadness. Gray, you're coming out of the magic because of Randall's very grady, loud voice. And Marybelle looks uncomfortable, or, just, I don't know. Would Marybelle look neutral or uncomfortable because she's trying to understand what Randall is asking?
I don't think she would be uncomfortable.
Okay.
Because I don't think she really knows how to be uncomfortable.
Cool.
Yeah, I think she just takes everything at face value.
while you're, putting out your spectrograph to deal with your 7 to 9, I think you are able to see beyond his surface composure, Marybelle, and you see underneath his clothing, he seems to be hiding a tattoo of a constellation.
Now, I think by this point I probably would have learned not to talk about what people have under their clothing or do not have. I'm sure I would have gotten in trouble at some point with that. Yeah, it was in my lesson book. Uh, I think I'm gonna, yeah, okay. I think I got it. I got it. I know what I'm gonna say. Mr. Newcastle, are you
Yes.
familiar with the theory that stellar phenomenon could affect actual people here on the planet? I've heard of things such as astrology is something people believe in.
You mean like the star signs and shit, right?
That is one thing, yes. Apparently there are many.
You think this has something to do with that swirly thing up there, and then these people that are these colors?
I'm not certain. I'm not very familiar with star signs. What star sign are you, Mr. Newcastle?
Oh, I don't believe in any of that shit. No, I just read about people that possibly believe in that. A little bit salacious gossip for the rag. It's like people having occult beliefs. It's something that you can make fun of, but
I sincerely hope you don't think I would make fun of you. I certainly would not.
I mean, I just met you, love. I can't imagine that you'd even try. And remember, I'm going to quote you. Mind you, it still remains a little bit anonymous, second hand, third hand. Anonymity for the source, of course, and all that.
So you don't know anything about stellar phenomenon or astrological signs, is that correct?
She just kind of like seems to consider it. It's like, no, no. I mean, that looks like a bit of swirly thing up there for like the stars and shining in the sunlight and shit, but I mean, no, don't believe in that guff myself. Why do you ask?
I merely ask because you have a stellar tattoo upon your person. Is that not correct?
No, 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 not at all. No. Had, me and my mates, just getting some tattoos, like, of a drunken evening, but, I mean, no silly constellation. What? That's ridiculous.
What tattoos did your mates get?
Oh, I think he got, like signs of, the truth and honesty and different languages and shit. They hang around at the docks, you know.
And what's yours?
Oh, mine's a bit.
May I see it? I've never seen a tattoo.
You're awful forward, love.
So I've been told. I'm working on it.
Gray, are you doing anything while she's having this conversation with
If I've been pulled out of the vision from his voice.
Yeah.
This feels like a good moment where Marybelle's providing a distraction. I think Damon's going to provide a maneuver we've probably done several times of pay attention to the pretty doll. And I'd like to just try and pickpocket Randall's notebook and see if he's got any information.
Love it. Oh, composure, dear.
Absolutely.
Day move. Risky. with composure. What do you think will go wrong if you fail or lose your nerve?
I think Randall's going to not only notice, but clam up and get out of this situation and prevent us from asking him more questions.
Yeah.
Oh,
2d6 plus composure.
That's some lucky 8s. That's another 8.
Okay. Wasn't information, but it was like picking up on something. So let's see. You do manage to pick his pocket, I will say. But I think, if you don't mind my saying, I think this is something where the complication is that Marybelle notices what you're doing. Do you comment upon this? As he's fishing in Randall's pocket.
Well, Jeremy did suggest that this is probably something we have tried before.
Okay.
Whether or not Marybelle picks up on it, what does Daymond do to try and notify Marybelle to continue being a distraction?
I think it's so. I imagine Daymond kind of dropped out of his trance, stared at Randall for far too long before realizing there was something in his pocket, slunk around behind him, giving you kind of a shush, like to not, like just a finger to the lips. And then as he was leaning over to pick up the pocket, sort of a rolling hand gesture. So a carry-on kind of gesture. Assuming that you would understand. Whether or not that's true is another matter.
I'm not sure. I think that actually might be a roll. If I pick up on that. Because I can't really...
Unless you actually had like signals, like, true signals, like, worked out ahead of time. It might not be obvious to Marybelle. Also day move to understand, like, what he's asking you to do.
Yeah.
So.
What I'm afraid of is doing something wrong and having Mr. Gray be mad at me. I imagine this is probably reason.
You're working it out, yep.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think I am going through, in my mind, I'm going through my book of lessons, like of all the etiquette things that I've ever learned, and all the little notes that I've added that I've learned from my fellows in Hargrave House, because, you learn things like you're supposed to offer your hand to shake, unless, of course, it's a woman, in which case you're not supposed to. Or in case it's Kemuel, in which case you're not supposed to. Like just different rules that you have to learn.
Yeah.
So I'd like to just kind of flip through my memory of my book of lessons to see if there was anything in there about what to do in a situation like this, so that I can get advantage on my trophy dice.
Okay.
Trophy dice. Oh, good lord. 7.
Okay.
Advantage.
7. Okay. So
it would have been a 3 without the advantage. So.
Oh God.
Good grief.
Good gravy. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I have a funny move that would make a really, really dramatic moment for this.
Okay.
One of my moves, one of my doll part moves, I have galvanic cardioverter. My electric core keeps my body operational, and it allows for more control over how my energy is conducted. Normally, I would roll, if I'm doing this, with composure. However, one of my adapters, I get one adapter, says that you can remove your appendages and retain control of them remotely. When you do, you take a condition, the missing body part, and you can recall the part safely by removing the condition unless it's been compromised as a result of the complication. I'm going to look at Mr. Gray, and I think I'm going to see him going like this.
Oh no!
Yes.
And I'm going to take my hand off and hand it to him.
And Randall Newcastle's like wide-eyed, like, what the fuck? Oh, I, I, mm. I think I've got to go. I hear somebody calling me.
Mr. Newcastle, before you go,
Yes.
I'd like to slap him with the hand.
Don't let you do it. It's fine. It's fine. I don't need a roll for that. God.
And just like slap him with the hand as he's recoiling, pull the notebook out of his pocket.
Uh-huh. Perfect. I'll allow it. Okay. And he just like kind of holds his hand against his face, like just he cannot bring his mouth up. He just, I got to go. And then he just turns and then just like leaves you too. And then he'll kind of like look back every once and again and then just look at you and shakes his head and just, yeah, tries to find somebody else to bother. What you find, or what you found in his pocket, is actually a folded up newspaper rag. And it says, handwritten note, next purple, then 3 orange, then bone. Yeah, Marybelle gets a condition, and I owe you a condition or two, Gray, but give me a second. I'm going to go over to Kemuel. So, for your 9, Kemuel, you do get a clue, and that is he will... Jeffrey McKinney will kind of like, you know, show you like his handiwork, like how clean everything is, and just how beautiful, like, you know, the bodies are, because they've just been so cleaned. And if anything, it's weird, right? Because they're so clean, it's the colors gleam on these bodies, which is cool, but yet uncomfortable too. And one of the things he shows you on the slab. Now this one is, it's odd, right? It's not complete. And he'll twitch the sheet aside, and what you see is the remains of a solid purple torso with no limbs or head.
And Kemuel leans in close to the torso, like uncomfortably close, looks at it carefully, and gets very close to the attendant and says, the way these bodies gleam, they're quite beautiful, aren't they?
Yes, because it's as clean as a whistle. They have nothing to do except be beautiful in the pristine state. They are ready to be passed along to the next world. And this is, we honor them, right? I mean,
And Kemuel leans in close to his ear, and he whispers something. And this fellow, if you'll allow, drops to his knees.
Is this your move?
Yeah. Something that was said to him has caused a realization, and he falls to his knees and places his forehead to the ground, showing his deference.
Do you want to go ahead and read that move?
Yeah, I sure will. This is giveth.
Okay.
At any time, you can declare that a side character is secretly one of your worshippers. Describe how the side character subtly or not so subtly debases themselves before you in the scene. Then scar your reflection. Whenever you make a gift of something from your personal quarters to a worshipper, they will do exactly as you say, no questions asked, up to and including destroying themselves. If you demand information from them, it may come in the form of a clue at the keeper's discretion. And do you want me to continue with the relevance to the hunters, or yeah?
Only when it actually comes up. If somebody wants to do that.
Exactly.
Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, so you performed Giveth. So Ruda, tell us first. I mean, like, so is it just where Jeffrey will just go down on his knees and just kind of like look adoringly at you,
Yeah,
or does he do something else?
like literally puts his forehead to the ground, with his hands, kind of, and then looks back up, just like in perhaps like almost in anticipation, like waiting for a command or anything, any manifestation that might happen.
Okay. Alrighty. So when they say scar your reflection with a capital R, you have, being the undeniable, you have a masterwork, the reflection. Somewhere in London, hidden from the world, a masterwork is created in your image or otherwise inspired by your beauty. It is guarded by a cult dedicated to your worship, and it seems to be a portrait painting. Okay. You want to go ahead and read how your worshippers demonstrate they are unworthy to look at it?
Yeah, so in its present manifestation, the masterwork appears actually as an engraved woodblock used for printing like a weekly broadsheet that's entitled Being a True and Most Accurate Account of the Life and Times of They Who Cannot Be Denied. Alone, a blind master printer sets the block and type for the newspaper by touch, and copies of the broadsheet are dutifully delivered to the residences, grand, some mundane, some very humble, situated all throughout London.
Amazing. So the masterwork will gradually degrade so you can remain young and beautiful, and will bear the scars that your evil acts would otherwise leave on your soul. Whenever you scar your reflection, either as the result of a move or because the keeper said so, mark a box to the right and describe how the masterwork has changed for the worse. What has happened in this scarring?
Yeah, so on the front page, on there's an illustration, this woodcut illustration on this broadsheet that depicts Kemuel in the manner of a biblical angel. But we see now that the beautiful white wings have turned black. They're bat wings now.
Nice. Go ahead and make those notes as you scar your reflection down below on your playbook. So this way you can keep track of how your reflection scars up. Okay? All right. So you have this worshiper. And I think as you have whispered to Jeffrey, I think somebody shuffles in. She is clad in a veil over her face. She's clothed from head to toe in black. And she shuffles in. She looks like a professional mourner. And she's just, again, covered all over in black, like drapey veils and like robes and a long dress. Oh, I didn't realize anyone was here. Jeffrey, what are you about? And, like, do you allow Jeffrey to speak?
Yeah, Kemuel kind of nods and lets him rise.
Uh, just checking the floor, mistress. Miss Hattie, there, just wanted to make sure everything was extremely clean as I go through the bodies and ready them for, um, their rest. I see. Hmm. Ah, I'll just be on my way. But has anyone seen my other glove? And she kind of like shuffles forward and she kind of like seems to take a look like at the among the tables with the bodies on them. Oh, there it is. And when she reaches for the glove, Kemuel, you will notice that it is so slender. It almost seems to have no skin. And it is pale. Very pale. Like the color of bleached bone as she reaches for the glove.
And I think Kemuel will actually reach and grab the glove if he's able, and hand it to her. This is yours?
Yes, yes.
Did you come here to remember the deceased?
I am the chemist, Hattie Helmsley. I work with the bodies to cleanse them from the inside, running the chemical processes through and making sure that they are prepared. Jeffrey here prepares them on the outside. I take care of them on the inside.
You are comrades with Jeffrey.
Yes, yes.
You both are meticulous about your work.
She nods.
Who employs you?
Whomsoever has created this mortuary, this is very new. It's almost as if someone knew that we were readying for clients. And her veil kind of shifts so that's why you can't see her eyes, and she will make to shuffle away and leave now that she has her glove.
Good day.
Good day. And then she will proceed to shuffle off into yet another room of the mortuary. Okay. So, everybody's resolved. I have to figure out conditions and such, but I usually wait until the end sometimes. In looking at this, let's take a look at what we've got so far for this particular threat. You have 4 clues. Complexity 6, complexity 8. Start thinking about how you want to put the clues together to use them, to explain such things. I will ask each of you where you would like to go. Before we, one more thing that you can do perhaps before we close out of day phase. And did you want to ask Jeffrey to do anything for you, Kemuel?
Yeah, indeed. I think I will actually present Jeffrey as a new worshiper with that triptych depicting Kemuel in religious iconography.
Perfect.
And instruct him to keep them updated and made aware if there are any further developments in this situation.
He clasps the triptych to his breast, and just sighs, like almost in contemplative ecstasy as he's just like kind of clutching it and holding it very close. And indeed I will. Thank you. Thank you. I will keep it clean.
And I think they just turn on their heel and march out of the mortuary.
Okay. Cool. And then back to Dr. Weiss. After you do this thing with the head. Yeah, okay. So you now have a hold on, let me look at that move. Okay. So the mother has a very specific playbook move. Would you like to read off the child?
Sure. You have a secret laboratory in Hargrave House where you are building a person from body parts you acquire in the city. When the time is right, you will use principles of chemistry and alchemy to give your creation life. When you acquire a body part for the child, check it off from the list below and narrate a brief, pleasant memory of the person that you lost that is triggered by holding this part in your hands.
Which you had done.
Yeah. I kind of just wrapped it up with the mask.
Nice. Okay. Very cool. Alrighty. So after adding the head as the beginning of your child, what would you like to do next?
I mean, assuming no one wants to do a vulnerable scene with me because they don't have any conditions, then I'm not sure what she would do. Because I do want to visit the mortuary, but I want to do it after dark with my creepy friend.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I have yet to give people conditions. That's why, like, nobody else has.
I actually
stuff.
do have a condition.
Oh, you do.
Yeah, but
yes.
is it
that's
one
right.
that you can clear with a move?
No,
though?
I can't clear it vulnerable move. You're right.
I mean, if you still want to have one, and
No, because I mean, I
just
have I have a
conversation.
condition. I have a condition for you, Marybelle. That's one of the things. But I'm like, do I add this to you? Because you're gonna be at 3 conditions.
No, 3 conditions.
Well,
Whatever
if
What will you do? Yeah,
if
no.
you add it, then we could have a scene together.
Yeah. So your condition, your condition from the whole interaction with Randall is all the rules.
Oh, that's just such a real mood.
And then for Gray, from what you've seen, how do you feel from what you saw through the rite of salt and smoke? Seeing that starfield, those eyes, the fangs.
That there's a Leviathan coming. That someone in this city has stared into the void and asked for something, and the void has listened to them.
Oh, you have not
Daymond.
seen the void yet.
Oh, in that case, Daymond does not like that someone else is reaching out to the darkness. The darkness is his.
Your condition is in quotes, it's not all yours. And the undeniable because of the 9. What is it about the bodies? The pristine chromatic bodies that appeals to you, Kemuel? Do you find them as beautiful or more beautiful than even yourself?
Perhaps as beautiful. He's very enchanted, or they are very enchanted by the fact that these aren't just mundane, everyday, boring corpses, but rather these gleaming, chromatic colored bodies.
Your condition is sum of all the parts. Sum, S-U-M. Okay. Now you have some conditions to play with. Okay. So, you all want to get together, fast forward, like whoever wants to have any, excuse me, vulnerable moves before we move into dusk/night for next time. Pretty sure. Yeah. So, who wants to get together?
Well, if we're saving dusk for next time, then we could do vulnerable move. I do have a hand that I have to reattach.
And I do have a hand in my possession to give back.
I have a hand as well. But
All got a bunch of hands, yeah.
How many hands do we have in total?
This is the worst possible way for us to ask for people to clap for us.
Yeah,
I hope
or
they
the
are
best,
right
depending
now.
on your perspective, yeah.
Yeah, in
If it
that
was
case,
more maritime, I'd call this episode "All Hands on Deck," but that's not the case.
since Daymond and I are already together, I imagine that we could probably do a vulnerable scene. Since
Absolutely.
On the way
you've got
back.
my hand anyway. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you leave? Do you leave? I mean, you could, because Kemuel would leave and come, like, whenever they
I
wanted.
I,
So
I have a pitch for that. If
okay,
it's
okay.
okay, is that they do just leave them behind.
Yes.
Uh, but maybe somehow they're back having a vulnerable scene with Dr. Weiss.
Oh yeah, we can
Uh,
totally, like, play
like
timey-wimey stuff.
or like yeah, like maybe Kemuel's already there before the carriage gets back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works
Because they would
actually.
have no way of really contacting Kemuel or anything, so
Yeah.
No.
I imagine this is pretty commonplace for Kemuel to just go away for a while.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think in I think like the carriage, it's like a handsome carriage, comes up and Marybelle goes to step into it and realizes that she doesn't have her hand. And then they turn to you. Oh, Mr. Gray, may I get your assistance, please?
Absolutely. And Daymond will hand you back your hand. Do you? He will screw it back on or reattach it for you if you ask or let him.
I think I sort of try to do it, but it's one of those things that's tricky to do one-handed. But I think it's pretty easy to tell how it works, you know. And standing outside the cab, putting the hand back on, and I think they move it back and forth around the ball joint to make sure that everything is nice and smooth. Ah, there we go. I shall have to oil it when I get home. Perhaps it was incorrect of me to remove my hand in front of Mr. Newcastle.
Incorrect, perhaps. He did not seem as accepting of your condition as the rest of us, but I don't believe it was the wrong thing to do.
An action can be both incorrect and not wrong.
Yes, there were better courses of action, such as, and Daymond will explain the gestures of shush and carry on. But the ends, where we obtained more information about, just gesture at the sky, helped us and advanced our, to quote Dr. Weiss, our pursuit of knowledge. But,
So
no
you were
buts.
saying that on occasion, incorrect behavior is acceptable because the ends justify the means.
That is a slippery slope. If the ends always justified the means, then it would be right to kill someone just because they were about to commit murder. It
Is that
would
not right?
not until the act is done. There's always the possibility of stopping just before the edge. Take what I saw in the sky. A creature. No, a creature puts too much personification on it. Eyes and fangs. It is not our place to tell the creature no. No, not the creature. To tell the eyes and the fangs no before knowing what it wants. That all that we have is not its for the taking. Until we know what it actually wants, we cannot know if it is simply observing us. Do you not watch bugs?
I do watch insects and bugs on occasion, correct.
And are you going to squish every bug that you see?
In the past, I may have. Not out of disrespect, but out of lack of knowledge of right or wrong. I now know it is wrong to squish a bug unnecessarily. You are suggesting with your slope that you can slip on, which is a metaphor,
Yes,
that if a bug were to harm me, I may then be justified in squishing it.
exactly. And now, to continue this metaphor, that which was in the sky, the eyes and the fangs, we, much like the bugs, do not know if that which is larger than us, that which we do not understand, actually means to harm us.
Then, Mr. Gray, why did Mr. Newcastle run away when I removed my hand? Should he not know that he does not know if I mean to harm him or not? He should look to understand me instead.
I don't believe he ran from you. I believe he ran because I slapped him with your hand.
Ah, which causes pain.
Yes. And so we showed him that we did in fact mean harm out of fear for our own, not physical safety. That was never in danger, but our social safety.
Would he then have been justified in killing us?
No, I don't believe he would have. We did not do anything more than bruise the skin.
Hmm.
We did not threaten him beyond the measure of the threat that he posed to us. Balance in all things.
So it's not just what is right and what is wrong. There are multiple factors to be considered. Thank you very much, Mr. Gray. I do appreciate your assistance.
Absolutely. I always enjoy our talks.
I like the idea that we're still standing outside the cab and then the driver
Yeah,
is like,
yeah.
what the hell?
Right,
Yeah,
right,
it's
right.
like-
It's like he's kind of like eyeballing you two.
I ain't got all day here.
Yeah. The vulnerable move. When you have an intimate moment with another hunter while one of you is engaged in your vice, you may clear an appropriate condition. So I'm assuming cleaning and tuning up your parts.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So
I'm going to clear all the rules.
yeah. And Daymond, what do you think?
Well, I don't feel it was the most concrete clearing of it's not all yours.
Hmm. You were discussing it a lot,
I,
so
I
I don't
do
know.
I
That's a
do
few.
think we came close enough to the shared responsibility to get rid of it's not all yours.
Okay. If it is your vice, you can also stumble on a clue, tell the keeper what it is. The clue cannot conclusively answer a question by itself, or invite the other hunter to ask you about your past. You must answer truthfully, but not necessarily completely. What option would you like to take?
I don't really have any ideas on my past yet, so I think I'm gonna go with a clue.
Okay, so yeah, if you don't have an idea just yet to put your thumb on the scale, go ahead and put down Marybelle TBD under the clue list for that threat, and then you can create it later on, like what you stumble into, like in the cab or coming out of the cab, whatever. So.
I'll
And
think on it.
okay, and our good doctor and our undeniable back home at Hargrave House.
Yeah, I think we see Dr. Weiss in the kitchen. She's in front of the sink and she is running her hands under it with a special lye to cleanse them of the formaldehyde. And without looking at them approach, how do I know that Kemuel is, do you have like a special type of shoes or like what is it about, how does she hear you approaching and immediately know it's you?
Kemuel's barefoot
Yeah,
still.
they're
I mean,
barefoot.
Oh, that's true.
I think Dr. Weiss maybe sees uh, some sort of bottle or like glass beaker that's maybe clacks down on the sink near where she's washing up, and hears them say, "These cleansers are from Stratford Mortuary. I saw them and thought of you, Dr. Weiss."
Without turning to look at you, she picks it up and examines it. That was very thoughtful, Herr Kimmel. That the mortuary. Tell me, did you have an interesting day there among the dead?
Indeed, they were glorious in their bright and beautiful colors. One of the remains lacked all limbs, but was the most enchanting shade of purple.
If I only had my notebook with which to sketch. I learned something similar in the almanac. There is a manual of procedures such as this that lists colors and components to be combined to create amazing medical effects. It sounds much as you described. I would very much like to see one of these procedures myself performed on the dead and perhaps on the living as well.
You could perhaps recreate this effect. The attendant of the mortuary, I would expect to be most amenable to your
Perhaps
interests.
I don't have any plans this evening. Do you? And she turns and grins. Perhaps we can call upon him.
It seems our plans are now made.
I'm going to invite you to ask a question about my past if you want. And maybe this is as we're getting ready to head out.
think you've cleared the conditions.
I wonder, Dr. Weiss, when you first felt the presence of the angel of death?
You know, it is funny. My father was a rabbi, and every weekend he took us to synagogue and preached about God and holiness and faith. And I never felt anything other than boredom and tedium and wishing to be with the other children at play. And it was not until I came to this country, this London, when I was at Bedlam in the hospital and putting my hands deep within cadavers, that I finally understood the truth of what he was trying to tell me. That the gulf between what is dead and what is alive is not as wide as we would believe. In that moment, I felt I did touch a piece of God. Does that answer your question?
And he leans in really close. What did that touch feel like?
It was wonderful.
This one can imagine.
Let us see if Jeffrey feels the same.
Indeed.
Okay. So we will go ahead and do dusk when we start next session. And then, we will just go ahead and do stars and wishes right now to close out the session. Excuse me. Stars are things that you appreciated about gameplay, roleplay, anything in the session, and wishes are what you'd like to see for next time or in the future for the campaign.
I like to go first because then if I forget anything, I can just nod along with other people and be like, yeah, that too.
All right.
'Cause
Yes,
I
do
forget
that.
so much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This was so much fun. It's so much fun to get back into the Between. I haven't played the Between in a while, and I'm just really happy to be here. I'm really happy to play this game with all of you. This was delightful. Um, Jeremy, the Daymond immediately in the middle of the day doing rites of salt and
Yeah.
smoke, just in the middle of the day on the street, is hilarious to me. Like no subtlety, no shame with this one. I really like that aspect of the vessel, like the possessive spin on the darkness. You know, really accepting and bringing this whole thing in and being proud of it in a lot of ways. I don't think I've ever seen a vessel be quite like that. So I'm really, really excited to see where this goes and how things are going to get darker, because you know they will. I really like the relationship between Daymond and Marybelle. I think it's really interesting. It's sort of like a teach me how to be human, you not normal human. Like that's just a weird thing to me.
Yeah.
And huge stars for taking my hand and slapping that guy with it, because I did not expect
That was awesome.
that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
loved
that was
it.
amazing.
Beautiful.
That's so
Bursting
good.
stars.
Mark, I love Kemuel's weird dissociation from humanity. It's such a weird character choice. And I think it fits really well with all of the different things that we have going on with the other characters, but I'm not really sure how. I really like the questions that it brings up in my mind, though. Like, is this how it's always been for them? Have they always been like this, or were they more human way back in the day and they've just lost it over time because that's what time does? The idea of the broadsheet, the newspaper as a masterwork, is a stroke of genius. That's absolutely brilliant. And that also adds those questions of like, how long has Kemuel been around? Is like the masterwork, has that been around as long as they've been around? Is it newer? Did it used to be something else? Did it used to be like, I don't know, rock paintings or something. Like I don't know how this is going to
Yeah.
work. I think that's really, really cool, and there's a lot of really interesting questions that are going to come up from that. And the really creepy, like, what did the touch feel like? I just huge
Yeah.
stars for that. That was a wonderful choice, wonderful character choice. Keep it going, keep it going. Alex, I love Dr. Weiss. I love the mother. I have such a soft spot for the mother character because they're always just so weird. Immediately putting your hands with no gloves on into formaldehyde to pick up the severed head to use from your personal quarters as a body part for the child. All of that is bonkers.
Yes.
All of that is complete bonkers.
Love
Thank
it.
you.
It is just using a PQ item for a child because I don't know, why not? Why not race the
I was
game
like, what
again?
else am I gonna do with it? You know?
So
Right.
fun.
Yeah.
So fun. I mentioned this in chat. I love all of these Jewish references and bits about culture and religious terms and stuff because I don't really know any of this stuff. I've heard words over, my years of I'm 40 years old. I know some stuff, but like nothing. I don't really know anybody in real life that's Jewish, so I don't have a lot of references for these things. So it's really, really cool to have this huge piece of history and knowledge being brought into this game in such a clever and effortless kind of way. Just beautiful. I'm really, really excited to see what else comes of this. I really like the way you are building this child. What might come of it? I have no idea what's going to happen. What's the difference between with the thing you're making and Marybelle? Like what is that? I don't
No, I
know. I
really,
don't
that
know.
would be one of my wishes for sure. I was gonna say, like, seeing that dichotomy and how us having discussions about it and stuff. Yeah.
Me too. Yay. I'm excited. Yeah, I think we're all on very similar pages of um what we want to dive into this game and what we like to see and I'm just really excited to get more. Mads, as always, I love playing with you. I'm so glad that we get to play together again. It feels like it's been a long time.
Yep.
I like all the little tiny jokes. I can catch them when you're referencing our Shadow Society game. Those are always very funny to me. I love the way that you have really put a lot of thought into your method of running the between. Like I can really feel like you have your own solid structure and ideas of tone and how to play things and how to really make it feel like a Mads game. And it does feel different than other, the between games I've played because it is a game you're running, but it also feels similar to other games, other the between games I've seen you run and other games you run before. Like it just feels like I don't know, just like a cozy, happy, spooky, terrifying place, which is my favorite kind of place.
Cozy,
Yeah,
happy, terrifying. I love it.
yes. And thanks again
Yeah.
for rolling with all the punches that
Oh, yeah.
we throw at you because
For sure.
you're always game for a good idea and love that. Always great. So yeah, that's me. I'm just excited for next time.
Yeah, I want to continue that, Mads. I really loved all of your NPCs. Like Randall, Jeffrey, and Hattie all felt very distinct. And they made me laugh and also go like, what is wrong with these people? I'm really interested in learning more about them. And, like a lot of times with the Between, I'll interact with NPCs for one scene and go like, okay, on to the next one. But some of these are like, I want to revisit these people and see what their deal is. So that's great. Yeah, I liked the pacing of this was really good. I felt like we all got a lot of spotlight time and, it wasn't too much for any individual person. So that was really, I'm liking how you're running this too. Yeah, Kemuel, I want to echo what Amanda was saying, but in your entire scene in the mortuary, I was like, what is this guy's deal? I want to learn more about him, but they're so weird in the best way.
Great.
So
great.
yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, and she already said it, but the masterwork choice was amazing. Double gold stars for that. Yeah, Daymond, I really liked the interactions that you had with Marybelle, and we're trying to convince her, like, well, not every the bug analogy that was amazing. Where you're like using that as a metaphor because that's very understandable, right? And it led to a really interesting discussion. So that was super cool. And Marybelle, I typed it in the chat a little bit, but I like all your wording about all your go-go gadget devices. The you could have just gone into like asking him a question or like examining his body, but you're like, no, I'm gonna look underneath his clothes and his skin with my x-ray eyes. That felt very appropriate for the puppet automaton. So very cool.
Oh, and I just wanted to mention that hidden constellation tattoo. I mean, I didn't say exactly how hidden it was. So, not only underneath the
And he never
clothing.
even showed it to me.
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
But I mean, it also could be under the skin.
That's true.
But you,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was gonna say wishes. I just want to again. I'm really looking forward to going with to the mortuary at night, because of all the descriptions of like the cleanliness and stuff. Like I think Elinor will vibe a lot with this person. So, and also seeing the mastermind in play. So hopefully one of us rolls a 12 or something.
Yeah.
I can go, although I'm kind of echoing a lot of what everybody says, but I have a general star for all of the hunters and two of the NPCs just being complete weirdos, just like really, really bizarre. And to pair with that, Mads, I really got a kick out of Randall Newcastle as the sort of like representation of like the normal citizenry to the extent that 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 is normal, which is maybe not very much, but just a really, really off-kilter world that's being shaped here, and very fun. Uh, I pulled out just a couple of like bits of like moments in dialogue. Like I really enjoyed uh, Marybelle uh, mentioning that Daymond was somewhat squishy,
That's good.
and
That's
the
so good.
observation too about something can both be incorrect and not wrong. Those were
Yes.
like really fun moments. Uh, Jeremy, not only did I think it was great to like pull the Rites of Salt and Smoke out right at the jump, but the idea of using it to look through the portal, I thought was just kind of a cool take on it, and it allowed for that amazing visual of the eyes looking back, which yeah was just
Super
amazing.
cool. Agreed.
And the silver threads, like there's so much like really like sort of rich visuals with that character. I think I really enjoyed the way you're portraying him. And Alex, uh, yeah, Eleanor Weiss, this version of the mother feels much more arcane and maybe less sciency than some of that I've seen, but it's really fun. And all of the like the gematria and the all the Kabbalistic uh, references and stuff. I'm really curious to see where all that goes. Very interesting. But yeah, just glad to be here and looking forward to the next session.
It's always the worst going last for stars because everyone said so many great things. To keep it short, a star for everyone for building characters that all feel like we've all taken the same theme of dancing on strings and just said, here's how I'm going to interpret that, and here's how I'm going to take that, between Marybelle quite literally being at one point a puppet, to Kemuel being outside of their own body, almost as if they're a puppet being controlled by themselves, to Eleanor's pulling at the strings of the world to see what works. It's a delight to see characters created in isolation that all hit the same way. Yes, and with Mads as the puppet master. On a, I guess, more personalized set of stars, Amanda, massive star for that opening description of just sitting in this space, doing things because you've seen others. It was delightful. And both Alex and Mark, the way that you guys interacted with the NPCs felt both so natural and so disturbing. I guess more so in Alex's case, the way you interacted with Kemuel felt so natural and disturbing. As far as wishes, it feels wrong to say this session 1, but I would like everyone's masks to go through every one of the masks of the past, because I kind of want them all just written down in a little book.
It's gonna be great. I mean, again, stars to everyone. I mean, I'm not going to repeat every star that has already been mentioned because I agree with all of them. I mean, like, it just is how it is. I love these characters and the twists and turns taken, showing them in their element or even a little outside of their element in this session. I mean, gave me a really good feel for these characters, and it's amazing to me how well they dovetail with each other. You wouldn't think so, but I mean, you know, when they talk to each other, when they interact with each other, I mean, hitherto unsuspected chemistry there, and it's just amazing to watch. This is why I love running these games, because damn, I need my popcorn. I'm serious. I mean, it's just delightful, absolutely delightful. So, and yeah, it is going to get weirder. I mean, I started with the frickin' monochromatic men of 3 Mills Island.
Oh,
Yeah.
stars for starting with that, by the way. That sets the tone.
Go big or go home, yeah.
Well, it's gonna be big weird, big weird. So, yeah, and it's just gonna get worse from here. Because one of the other things that I was deciding to play test was using a lot of the threats that have deadlines. So, you know, this is the first of those, and I can't wait to see what you do with it. It'll be great. So. Yeah, I have not much more than that, except to see again more of the characters interact with each other, because that's where we get some really great moments. Like, you know, pulling off the vulnerable scene at the end of the session. I love it. I mean, like, you know, why the hell not? You know, and then we will start with dusk and then go into night phase for next time, and then hopefully complete that to get into the dawn. All right. Yeah. So if you hadn't already, like, you know, made sure you had your dawn questions set up, then, you know, if you've hit them, go ahead and make the mark, you know, so this way you can remember that you did it. Okay. So I'm looking forward to it. Unfortunately not next week, because I have a family event for next week, but the week after we will continue, and we will see what these characters do for dusk and nighttime. Oh man, can't wait. So thank you very much for playing. Happy gaming for the interim, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you. Bye.